What's up, everybody? This is your Uncle Bernie, man. I ain't dead yet. When I'm not dead, I'm listening to the Art of Presents We All Be News and Radio. I ain't scared of y'all. Kick it.
And welcome, family, to another wonderful edutainment edition of the Artivist Presents We All Be Radio. I'm your captain for this empowerment segment, R2C2H2, the Artivist. And welcome back, family. This is a very important show. If you want to get in on this important conversation, please feel free to call us, 646-652-4593. That's area code 646-652-4593. If you're scared to get on the air, you hit us up on email at r2c2h2@gmail.com. Once again, that's alphabet R, numeric 2, alphabet C, numeric 2, alphabet H, numeric 2, @gmail.com. And this is a very, I feel like, important segment. I'm very excited to have on these honored and esteemed guests. Tonight's topic is Chopping It Up with Sergeant Smack, the real American gangster. This is basically the true story that you didn't get from Hollywood. This is the true story right now, official on We All Be Radio. I am honored to have on, once again, I call my brother from another mother, Brother Ron Chepesiuk. Are you there? Brother Ron.
Brother.
It's nice to have you on this true crime extraordinaire, true crime writer extraordinaire, Brother Ron Chepesiuk. He got a lot of tales, did a lot of things to help us get a better understanding of the place of African Americans in organized crime history in this country and beyond. And also we got tonight's showstopper. The main reason for being on tonight is Brother Ike Atkinson, also known as Sergeant Smack, the real mastermind behind the Southeast Asian heroin connection. This is Brother Ike Atkinson. Sergeant Smack, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
It's an honor to have you on, sir. I mean, when I talk to you, like, you're so youthful, and it's just an honor to have you on, man. How old are you right now, Sergeant Smack?
I'm 84 now.
I could never tell, man, because I was looking at your YouTube video. You got such a youthful energy, and you're such a nice guy.
I try to take care of myself. I'm hanging in there.
Well, you're doing more than hanging in there. You're beating the odds, sir. So welcome to We All Be Radio.
Well,
and let's get down to it. Like, what is it all about, Brother Ron and Brother Ike? What we need to know about? I got the Sergeant Smack copy right in front of me right now, and his band of brothers. What's it all about?
Well, yes. Let me try to first explain it. It's all about a guy, two guys, really, myself and my partner, William Jackson. It's about it's about the things that we did in Thailand and in Saigon when the war was on. And it tells the story of we went from MPC in Vietnam to the drug trade in Thailand. And that basically is what this whole thing's about. But there is something else that I had put behind me. And first, like I say, I want to apologize first to anybody that think that anything that I did harmed them in any way. I want to apologize for it. And I've gone on with my life since I did my time. I did 32 years in jail, and I was released. And I have a probation officer now, and I'm following orders and keeping up with everything he got, and trying to stay healthy. I want to just say this. After I apologize here, which I know I have already apologized, I would not be where we are today talking about this, except that our friend Frank Lucas decided to tell the most biggest lie, in my opinion, that's ever been told about the drug smuggling from Southeast Asia. And that's what drew me back into the game. And my good friend Ron Chepesiuk, he came into prison to see me, and he's been on this case over 2 years, and I think he did a wonderful job on it, and that's where we are today. I just want to apologize to all our people for what the drugs might have caused them, but there's no use of having to tell a lie about how the drugs got in and how they were who got this or that. And Frank Lucas just absolutely just told a story like he had a part in it. He bought some stuff from me. He was a customer of mine, but that's as far as it went. And I just want to try to get that straightened out. Nothing against anybody. I'm going to let Ron take over here for a while to see.
Right. That's pretty well in a nutshell. The book was done, originally because Ike wanted to set the record straight, and he knew that Frank Lucas had been saying a bunch of lies about their relationship and about what happened in Southeast Asia and about how drugs were moved there, especially with the bogus heroin conspiracy hoax. And it's also, a response to that. But it's also a very interesting story about African Americans in the international drug trade, because usually we deal with gangster stories, and I've written a lot of books about the black gangster. It's usually set in the inner city, the ghetto, and that type of situation with a lot of violence. This story is completely different. It's set initially in Europe and in rural south of the United States, and then it moves to Thailand, and it involves a bunch of African American brothers that were adventurers, gamblers. They worked in the military, and it's a completely different story. So that's the other level to the book, to set the record straight with Frank Lucas, and then in its own right, an unusual story about the African American gangster.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. In addition to giving a false impression of what we did, Frank, everybody in this organization that I led in Southeast Asia, every single man, I could give him orders, special orders, and an ID card. I could send them anywhere in the world that I want to. We started it with a couple of civilians from my home. We worked the route out that we was going to do, that we was going to smuggle the drugs in, and did it. I just don't want somebody like Frank Lucas going around lying about what he smuggled drugs and stuff out of Thailand. I took him there for 4 days, and I put him on a plane and sent him out of there back to New Jersey. And he haven't had any part in anything. All this thing about them donkeys that he got up in the Iron Triangle, I don't think this nut knew what he was speaking about, calling the Iron Triangle. He took a lot of Mews and a lot of Americans up there, and he has no knowledge of the area, and he don't know that he would get ate up by the mosquitoes up there, and he just go running his mouth off about what he did, which is a lie. He was with me or under surveillance by me the 4 days I took him to Bangkok. I saw him, put him in the bed, and woke him up in the morning. So all the stuff he's talking about, him going in and getting drugs and bringing, never happened. And we got the man to prove it, and he can't in any way prove to anyone that we smuggle any drugs in bodies and stuff like that. We did. That wasn't our thing. We didn't have to do that. Even back to 68 and 69, we were smuggling drugs in soldiers' A.W.O.L. bags. And up to then we went from there to the GI bales that every soldier is issued. We were very innovative on what we did, and I want to say this: every guy that was in our organization either had a high school education, a couple of years of college, and we could read and write, and we had just about could send any one man, whether he's going right back through Europe or through the Middle East or where, They possessed the knowledge to do that. Frank Lucas could not fit in anything in there. Nobody had been looking for Frank Lucas in there and everything. He just told me that he wanted to go to Southeast Asia, and I made arrangements for him to go and made sure he was on the plane to come back to the States. Also, I went with him. He didn't know, he couldn't get no passport in New Jersey. They told him he didn't have no birth certificate up there. He wasn't born up there. So it took him down to North Carolina in the county that he was born and reared in to get him his birth certificate. It was quite a scene down there. He ran into a girl that was about 8 or 9 years old when he left North Carolina. And they evidently had been good friends. And I just watched two people grab each other and in each other's arms, and they cried and everything like that. I think they had a very, very hard life down in North Carolina.
Yes, Ron.
Yes.
Please feel free at any time to ask me any questions or anything. I would not be involved in this, Ron. I told Ron this before we started and everything like that. If he hadn't never told this lie about the bodies, dead bodies, and he messing with military coffins, I'm gonna tell you something. All the guys I had, about 9 of them, none of those people ever, never had anything to do with any dead bodies or anything. They don't know nothing about it, and it's been thoroughly investigated, and none of us have been charged or even, in my opinion, suspects. It's been a big investigation into this, and I think that those people are hip to the fact that Frank had nothing to do with anything over there. Just give me a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the fact that as I've listened to you speak and talk, and a sophistication of you, because I know you didn't go to college. You have a sophistication about you, and you articulate things very well. And it seems like to me, if they actually look at your life story, because you were a 20-year veteran in the United States Army.
Yes.
And you did have the training in the background, and you was a man of the world. You were like also a first-class gambler too. I was very impressed with your gambling acumen. I
used to do it for a living.
You were very great at it, and also the way you talk to people. Because I see how people could call you the gentleman gangster. Because like how you talk to me, you already charming me already. You already got me in your hand.
Thank you very much.
You're pretty good at this stuff, man. You put people at ease. I saw Frank Lucas on TV a couple times. I talked to his daughter too. I said it's kind of hard to see him as the mastermind behind anything.
Really, there is a really disconnect between the role that Denzel Washington played.
Right.
When you saw Denzel Washington in the movie as a sophisticated business. And when you hear Lucas, you could barely understand what he's saying.
Yeah, that's Ike though. It's like he played Ike to me.
Yeah.
Like he actually was playing.
That's right.
That's what it sounds like to me.
That's right.
That's right. I can't. Yeah, like you said, it's kind of hard. But also, I was drawn in. Cause you know what's funny about. Brother Ron, you talking about the American media falling down on his job. Of course it falls down on his job. You look at how they did Brother Gary Webb. We came up with the Dark Alliance. We came up about the truth about the CIA and all their connections with the drug trade and the Contras. Right. Look what happened to him. Then I saw this. I remember when the American Gangster phenomenon took hold too, and I got caught up in it. I went online to read a Jacobson article from 2000. Right. And it was a little bit way that I guess what it is with us. It's like, like you talk about, for example, in the Western movies, how you hardly see any black cowboys with Cooper and John Wayne. Although there's a whole bunch of black cowboys in the Wild West, historically speaking. But Hollywood is such a big myth maker that when they say something's based on a true story, it don't have to really be based on what actually happened. It could be like, it might have been inspired by that person's name, and that's the true story part.
Right.
It don't have to do nothing with the actual factuals. And I think that what you're doing, Brother Ron, and Brother Ike should be commended because it's very important that people know this stuff, and you put out this as a historical record. Even American Gangster messed up to me because they show Bumpy Johnson throwing turkeys out in November of 1968. He was dead by July of 1968.
That's right.
He was not alive. That right there told you that they know what the hell they were talking about.
Right.
Well, they was up to something.
Right, and he didn't drop dead in a department store. He
No.
dropped dead in Wells Restaurant, a restaurant, and if you read the accounts, Lucas, there's no mention of Lucas, and Mae Johnson before she died, said the same thing. He was just a flunky, and I interviewed agents and cops from that period, and they didn't remember Frank Lucas.
Right.
So he's gone a long way on a connection that never existed, and he's made a nice lot of money stealing a large part of Ike's story. If you look at the story that he presented, there's many elements in Ike's story that Lucas stole and made his own. And of course, once Hollywood gets behind you, it's pretty hard to stop the momentum. And today, Lucas is an icon, and it's kind of funny because the agents that investigate him and gangsters in that period, former gangsters in that period that knew him, are just amazed because it's nothing like the real life Lucas that existed in the 1970s.
That's for sure.
And also, Brother Ike, I found fascinating about you is that here you are a trained soldier, but you never had to use a gun to run a business at that level. How did you pull that off? I know you're a very charming guy, but how you had to? Yeah.
Thank you very much. Frank Lucas was about the third guy that I did business with, and I had some experience. Like a couple of guys did business before down in Baltimore and Washington. I was always look, we're going to do business. We're going to do business. We're going to respect each other, and that's what happened. I up and down the East Coast, and I out in California. I had a friend out there that I gave drugs to, and we just we had a little principle about ourselves, and that's how I think that. My story never, until Ron came by, my story haven't been really told. And I just like to say I've already apologized for this to anybody anything that I did that might have affected them. I apologize for what I did, but I'm all fired up about this thing because I'm not going to let Frank get away with some cock and bull story that includes me and the guys with me, and then try to inject himself in it, be somebody that he wasn't. And that's exactly what he did. And if any time he wants to apologize and everything like that, I wouldn't mind letting him off the hook. But until then, he's fair game.
Right.
But I'll never allow him, and you remember me saying this to you. I'll never allow him. I'll tell it like it is.
Right. And Ike always, and we talked about this. Ike told me, it just wasn't worth a human life dealing in drugs. Yeah. And he said that if somebody ever tried to, to take the drugs off him, it was no big deal. Take my drugs. I wasn't going to kill you. In revenge or anything like that. And I think Ike's personality and career show that you could be a nice guy and still operate as a gangster. You didn't have to be the typical. This is the irony.
Right.
The book that Lucas just put out, his autobiography, is called Original Gangster.
Right.
Lucas was not original. He's a typical, gangster from the 1970s. That existed in the inner city. Very violent. And Ike was not. Ike showed that you could use intellect and charm, and still survive in a very tough underworld.
Yeah, I like to think of Brother Ike. When I was reading the great book he wrote, Brother Ron, was Brother Ike, I was thinking about his counterparts. I look at people like Meyer Lansky or Costello, people that never really carried guns. They had enforcers around with them, but they had such a reputation. They had such a class about them. When you look at people like Carlo Gambino, who used violence not as the mean. I mean, it was like just a tool. It was the ultimate thing. It was no Vito Genovese type of thing where I got to be this psychopathic or Mad Hatter, Albert Anastasia type of stuff going on.
Right.
It was the price of doing business, but violence seems to be bad for business.
Right. Right.
You
know, Meyer Lansky was that's a good comparison between Meyer Lansky, the legendary Italian-American mobster, and Ike, because Lansky was called the brain,
right?
And he operated with his intellect, and when I talked to a lot of DEA agents, and they said Ike operated like a businessman. He didn't operate like a gangster, and that was one of the reasons why he was so successful, and that was one of the reasons why it was so tough to take down his organization.
Yeah, brother, I was like to ask you this, because Brother Ron is reading some of the stuff you put out about some of these black kingpins, and Brother Ike is no exception to the rule. It's like so many innovative brothers came out of North Carolina, whether it be Brother Ike or Frank.
Well, that's right. When you think of it, Ike was born in Goldsboro. Lucas was born in LaGrange, Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And you look at Frank Matthews, the legendary Frank Matthews. He's from Durham. And, Robert Stepney, who's not as well known as the other. He was called the Godfather of Harlem. Mm-hmm. Right, from North Carolina. He was another North Carolina, man. And so it's really amazing. But I always say that, these really legendary black gangsters, just were typical what happened, in the rural South. Mm-hmm. Because there was no opportunity. A lot of them migrated to the North, seeking opportunity. A lot of people did it legitimately, and they went because of the criminal opportunities that were opening up, in the bigger cities in the North.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always say Bumpy's from Bumpy Johnson's from.
And Bumpy's from Charleston, right? Bumpy Johnson from Charleston, South Carolina, right?
And I would like to say too, because I look at Brother Ike, I know he's a true Renaissance man. Let's read your book. You made him to a human being, not some one-dimensional cartoon or monster.
Right.
Like, really, Brother Ike, you have nothing to apologize for, because you came from that era where, it was a lot of things limited for a very intelligent black man like yourself. Right. And you had to make your opportunities. You had to take on what you could, because I know I was listening to Lena Horne's Pacifica radio interview a couple weeks ago she did back in '66, and her daddy was a hustler. She said, a black man who had a lot of intelligence didn't want to work for the man, whether it be black or white, and it was limited for because you look at Pullman porters. Pullman porters were respected in the black community, but a lot of them had PhDs and master degrees. They couldn't be a chemist. They couldn't be doctors and engineers. Right. So they weren't hired to do so. So to me, you like one of those intelligent brothers and sisters I always read about who had a frustration, but instead of them, getting you got back at them. You made a way when everybody said there was no way to make. So I applaud you on that. This is for being this inventive and knowing how to improv.
Well, if you look at Ike's career before he entered the big time world order, he was very successful. He had some problems in the military, but he got over them through sheer hard work and determination. But he ended up as a master sergeant. When he retired, he had a very nice pension. He was a young man, 17, when he entered into the military, and he had a very successful, legitimate life, before, and also, he gambled in the military. He got out. He had $60,000, and he was able to buy a swimming pool, the only swimming pool in his whole neighborhood in Goldsboro. This was back in 1963. So he didn't really have to do the gangster route, and enter drug trafficking. And he does have one regret, and I could probably talk to you about that. He wished he would have taken advantage of the GI Bill after the Second World War, and that would have given an opportunity, to enter some kind of legitimate career, like one of his friends, Kenneth McNeil, became an electric engineer, and so I does have some regret from that. But if you look at his career and compare it to Lucas, there's no comparison. Ike was a much more sophisticated, individual.
Yeah, I'll definitely agree with that, because I've been reading the book. Like I said, it's a fantastic read. It's hard to put down. All to say, you just say I co-sign on that, because I just find it, really refreshing. It's fascinating to me, because it's like you didn't have no problem. It's like you always knew who you were at all times. It's like you was always, because you were so at ease in every situation. It's like you already knew who you were, but even though you were living all these different lives. I mean, what would your family say about that?
Ike's just basking in the glow of your comments. But one of the things. One of the things that amazes me is I met Ike in prison. When he was still in prison, and we talked about. I went there because I interviewed Frank Lucas, and he was talking about this guy named Ike Atkinson, and saying the coffins this. I did this, the big Asian, and Ike was sort of like his flunky and all that. But he spent 32 consecutive years in prison, and it didn't break him. A lot of guys go to prison and they spend 32 years, and they become bitter, broken individuals. But Ike still, you talk to people that knew Ike before he went to prison, and he's still the same guy. And also, his children are amazed because he's still a gentle man, and not hardened, by that whole experience, which does affect a lot of inmates negatively.
Yeah, what's your secret behind it, brother Ike? Staying so upbeat. What's your secret?
In the first place, I wasn't cut out for this. The opportunity just came along at a time that there was some money to be made, bigger than the money that we was making gambling. And I didn't. When I went to Thailand and I discovered a route that I could smuggle the drugs, I told my friend, my co-defendant, William Jackson, that I could no problem get anything in that we needed to get into the States without anybody knowing anything. I said, it's a walk-on. Nobody knows it but me.
Right.
So that's how I got in the drug business in Thailand.
Right.
At that time, though, I had I came in. I came in from Europe, and I was so successful in Saigon, and I stayed there. I stayed in the Plaza Hotel and on Trans Hung Dao, and I had 3 other people, Jackson and my friend Daniel Birch out there in Ohio, and we lived together in Saigon. But on the weekends we would go back to Thailand, and then we decided that we was making so much money just running the MPC and gambling in the hotel, and that we decided to have our own club and restaurant. So that's what we did. We're not, Jackson and I are not the first ones to start a black restaurant and a bar in Thailand. But the man that started it was named Robert Johnson. He was from Europe too.
Greensboro.
Yeah, Greensboro, North
Carolina.
We was gamblers.
Right.
That's what we did. That's what I did. I retired 1st February 1963, and until 1968 or 1969, that's all I did. That's all we did was gambling. We had our spots in Europe where we played at and everything, which included Spain, all the way over to Germany, anywhere there was American soldiers or contract workers. Like this, what's the name of that company?
The Halliburton.
Yeah, Halliburton Company and everything.
He's talking about the defense contractors. Yeah. He took money off the defense contractors before anybody knew who they were. This was back in the 60s, 70s, the Halliburton types, Dick Cheney types.
Yeah, and I got into trouble just before I got out the service. I was playing poker with the officers over in Wiesbaden, Germany. And I think everybody in the gang knew that I was not an officer at that time. I had been an officer, but I wasn't one at that time. All the problems I ever had when I was in the service was from me gambling. I gambled with the officers in the officers club in Wiesbaden, and then my colonel. He was so upset. He said, I hate to do this to you. He said, but we're going to have a court-martial. So I got court-martialed. And
but you survived it.
Yeah, and listen to this. You're not going to believe this. General Clark, that led the American forces in Italy during World War II, his son was the president of his son was the president of the court that was trying me for playing gambling in the officers club and everything like that. So he took 3 strikes from me and everything like that. But when we put our case on and everything like that, Major Clark knew that the officers knew I was there all the while. I was one of the regular players, and nobody said anything about it until one guy one night, one captain one night decided to blow the whistle. And so I got in a little trouble about that. But Major Clark was convinced that several people that testified were aware of the fact who I was in that game and everything. And after I retired, I went back to the States and retired in '63. I went right back to that same club as a civilian and played, and nobody never said anything at all. Yeah.
Right.
But I was restored back. The retirement board in Washington restored me to my regular rank, which was a master sergeant, and that's what I am now. I'm a master sergeant, retired, and I draw my Social Security. I'm low-keyed. I don't get into trouble. Got a probation officer, and we get along just fine.
And you have military pension, too.
Yeah, I get a military pension for being a master sergeant and retiring with that grade, and I get my Social Security. So I'm doing okay. The other thing Frank Lucas got me upset about some dead bodies, and I'm determined to do anything to make that right. And I can tell you now, this man ain't got no backup or anything or anybody to bring him along to say what he claimed he did. I helped him get to Bangkok by having him going down to North Carolina and getting his passport, and I'm not sure I bought the tickets, but him and I bought them for 4 people, and until he can't make no peace with me until he back up off of that lie he told. His lawyer called me and asked me, what portion of this thing is Frank telling the truth of it? Because he's lying about everything that's connected to me and my drug personnel that was with me in Thailand. And we sort of left it like that. He hasn't called me back and said anything. I don't have anything against Frank. And everything like that. I would never go around and tell nobody some of the things that I could say about him. I just don't want him telling lies about me, especially when he come into him lying about dead servicemen and he throwing dope on airplanes and all this crazy stuff. Right. He don't even know anything about anything like that. Just read what he's talking about. I guarantee you that he was distributing. How much money he bring in? He bring in on he said he bought in on him in Thailand.
Well, no, he never really talked about specifics. That's one of the things that.
I'm talking about Frank.
Yeah, no, he didn't talk about like money, bringing in money.
Yeah, he bought in money to buy drugs. That's what he said.
Yeah, but he never talked about specifics. Specifics.
Yeah.
He talked about money.
Right. Well, anyway, he said he ended up with so many kilos of drugs. He
150 in his autobiography. He claims that he wanted to buy 150 kilos, and anybody knows anything about the drug trade knows that that's preposterous. Because how are you going to get 150 kilos out of Thailand? And how much money do you need? Selling at $2,500 a kilo at that time in the early '70s. You do your math. He would have had to carry in like close to over $300,000. And anybody knows that that much money weighs a lot. Yeah. How is he going to get it into Thailand?
Yeah, and he went from Henry Kissinger's plane. He threw the drugs on Henry Kissinger's plane,
which is a lie.
Which is a lie. And so when he found out, everybody knew he was lying about Henry Kissinger. He just said he went along. All the airplanes were lined up there, and he just threw the drugs up on them, and therefore ain't nobody involved. This guy's just a big liar. He just lied about the whole thing. And then he got the gumption to put in his book, man, why don't Ike don't do this, or Ike don't say that, this. And I'm all shook up about this. And we can be friends. We can be friends again. All we ask is that he tell the truth. And,
I know. Yeah.
We look. Oh, Ron.
I was going to say that Ron did a great job of outlining all that in the chapter called A.L.L in the Coffin in your book. I think it's an excellent job you did showing how it would have been a logistical nightmare.
Right.
Geez, there's too much headache. There's too much. And, Brother Ike, when I talk to you and when I read the book and when I'm talking to you, I don't see you as a drug dealer or gangster. I see you as the ultimate gambler. You're like an adrenaline junkie or something. You just don't know when to quit.
Right.
He
was an adrenaline junkie, but you can't get Ike today in a game of rummy. He don't play, which is amazing because he does have absolutely no interest in cards today. And one time, he's the first to admit that he was addicted to gambling and the adrenaline rush, and that's why he got involved with the drug trade. It wasn't so much the money; he had money,
right?
And he was successful. He talked about that bar. Well, it's a famous bar, Jack's American Star Bar. It was sort of like a Rick's Place in Casablanca, the movie.
Right.
Where every black GI that was on R&R, Rest and Recuperation, went. That was in Vietnam, and even today, you get on the internet and they still talk about Jack's American Star Bar. And, of course, it closed down when the Vietnam War wound down. But, that was, he was a successful businessman in partnership with three other of his buddies, Jackson, Luchai Ruby-Watt, and Jimmy Smedley.
And Daniel Burch.
All right, and Daniel, right.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting about the Jackson. It's like he's a person that everybody hates. They love to hate, but you got to wait. You got the best out of him. You like Phil Jackson or something, getting the best out of him.
This is what we talk about Ike being a businessman. This is why he was able to operate so successfully. He uses intellect and charm, and brought the best out of Jackson in terms of being a partner. He was an excellent partner. Yeah. Jackson knew how to sniff opportunity, but like the book shows, a lot of people didn't like him because of his personality and the way he operated. But together, Ike, they fit like a hand in glove.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say, Ike?
Yeah,
on that. And Herman Jackson. Of course, he's dead now. He died a couple of years ago. But and that was the beginning of the end of Ike's organization, because Ike went to jail soon after Jackson went down because of the Denver connection, which you read about, and he couldn't find an adequate replacement. It was something like a multinational corporation, except it was criminal, and he couldn't find the right CEO. Chief executive officer to keep the organization functioning well, and that was why I think one of the big reasons why the organization started to falter.
I was thinking too. Oh, go ahead, brother.
Because none of the guy that I put in George, right? What was his first name?
Freddie Thornton.
Yeah, Freddie Thornton. I had just met him. I knew him about 9 months. But I called everybody together that was with me, and I told them that I had to go to jail. I had permission from the court to come over and close my business out that I had in Thailand, and I put what's his name? Thornton. I put him in charge. He was a newly discharged. Everybody with us were former. All was on active duty servicemen. I've never did. Frank is the only guy that come to Thailand to try to buy drugs from me. I didn't need him to come buy nothing for me.
Right.
He's the one who was looking for me to get something. But he had an agenda, and for just what he's doing right now in the book, he wanted to be Lord of everything, and then he stepped on my toes when he come talking about bringing dead personnel out of Thailand, which was a total lie and everything like that. And I think if you or anybody else read the investigation made by Ron, I think you'll find out that you won't think that Frank was all this stuff he's throwing drugs on any plane or any planes on the turnpike. This guy just lied outright. And I guess he figured nobody wasn't going to challenge him.
Well, they didn't. They didn't. I mean, you get on the Internet and everybody treats the cadaver heroin conspiracy hoax as fact.
Right.
You know, and essentially, you know, our book is the first one that really examines it and looks at it and shows that it was ridiculous. You know, you couldn't operate. It never existed in the first place, and even if it did, it wouldn't have lasted very long because it was logistically, as you pointed out, you know, impossible to operate.
Right. And I'm here. Anybody that disagree with me or agree with me, what I say about what happened is I'll stand on it and I'll protect it because I have the truth. And so I'm here. Anybody want to talk to me about it, but don't come calling me about some dumb thing that Frank Lucas say and everything like that. He's a dumb guy. And I ain't seen so many people saying, "Oh my God, this guy done this, done that." They don't examine the facts of something. They just they want to be satisfied that, oh, he can say I made $50 million, I made $25 million, like they're gonna get a dime of it. He is a doggone guy that owes me over. Well, I'm gonna put it this way: he owes me about $800,000, but you let him tell it and everything. He got $14 million. I think he was telling me one time that I ain't gonna pay you. I got $14 million, but I'm not gonna pay you. This guy keeps something going. But like I say, I'll make up with Frank anytime. I don't this particular thing I'm doing now. We can talk and everything like that, but he's got to tell the truth. Big lie he told about bodies and things. I wouldn't have stood for anything like that.
Right.
And none of the guys that I would that was involved with, active duty or retired, they wouldn't do anything like that. We didn't have to do anything like that. I had the route that I bought stuff in and the way I bought it in, and I can sit up and tell somebody what it was and how it worked. But this man, Frank, you know, he sort of just opened his mouth and say anything, and I guess he think nobody don't want to do it. And what was that, Ron? He was telling me about about the agents in his book.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this though. I'm curious because you say you're a very intelligent person. I want to know what you saw in Frank Lucas. What made you want to do business with? What did you see in him? I know your nephew introduced you two. What was it that you saw in Frank and said, maybe we could do business? I could do business with this guy. Because he's on your level.
Be honest and tell you the truth, I made more money with Frank Lucas than I did except one other guy. And he's dead now, but I'm going to tell Ron who he is. I've already told Ron who he is. But I'm not going to use his name here or anything like that. The police didn't get him. They lock him up, but privately, I want him to know who I'm talking about. And let's see if anything else I want to say on this subject. If you looked any further in this case, you have to go back to see who the personnel involved in this and who got indicted for it. Frank Lucas had nothing to do. They didn't indict Frank Lucas for doing nothing around because he didn't do nothing with us. When my organization failed, everybody failed, had done something wrong. They haven't put nobody, let somebody slide or anything like that. But he tried to muscle in on that. And what I mean by that, to muscle in to testify against some of the guys that was in my organization. I had introduced them to him the 4 days when I brought him over from Thailand, and he's trying to. I guess he was trying to meet one or two of them and beat the price that I was charging him and everything like that. And be honest and tell you the truth, I never put any drugs in Frank Lucas' hand. And the reason I didn't do it was because really deep down I didn't trust him. And Anything that he got from me, he got it through his brother Shorty, not for me. If he had some money for me, he give it to his brother Shorty, and he give it to me. And so, but I'm willing to forget all of that and everything like that. Frank and I can get together, but like I say, he must tell the truth. If he don't, fine with me. I'm not changing anything I had to say about him because I haven't told no lie about him. But I would give him some slack. That's all I got to say about it. I wasn't with him. I've been in the car with him, riding up and down one of them streets over there in New York that I don't even remember. And all he talked about was Nicky. He called his brother Shorty and said, "Oh man, did Nicky do this, Nicky do that, and what do you think about it?" And when his brother tell him if it was good news, he just laugh about it and everything.
That's Nicky Barnes, right?
Yeah, right. Now, let me just say this to you: if Nicky had asked me and that he wanted to be a part of what I was doing, or he wanted to get in the drug business with me, I think I would have let him in. I'm gonna just say this all. This guy, I met him. I met Nicky, at the Marion Penitentiary in Illinois, and we also was at. We moved from that to Cherry Hope, right? And I really like Nicky, and I'm not knocking him about anything that happened to him. I'm just saying that if I had a choice between him and Frank, and believe me, I had to go through New York several times to make sure that Frank Lucas don't sit on my money. Give it to Shorty, and he'll get it down in North Carolina for me. But
Well, one of the things about we mentioned Nicky Barnes, and Ike always told me, he said, and it's in the book, that he liked him better than Frank. We had a choice between the two, but there's a telling anecdote in the book about Ike's personality when Ike was at Marion walking with Joe Stassi, who was a famous soldier in the Italian American Mafia, and he became friends with Ike, which shows another side of his personality. He's able to get along with anybody. And they were walking the yard and together, and Nicky Barnes, this is the first time that Ike met him, came in and just sort of, without introducing himself, just sort of butted in, and Ike scolded him for his bad manners, and that's what Ike, Ike, is known for. That's why he's called a gentleman gangster, and a gentleman even by law enforcement officers. So it's kind of funny, but eventually him and Nicky got to know each other, and they became friends. Although Nicky Barnes became one of the big informants, right, in history, and Ike had his suspicions about Nicky, when just before he became an informant, right, Ike?
Yes, this happened before, right. And I don't knock him for what them guys did. They shouldn't have bothered his girlfriend. I think that was his girlfriend he was talking about. I would put it this way. I would have let her go about her business, really. But I support Nicky. I think he's a very, very nice guy, very smart guy. And you put him and Frank in the room and let one of them talk at a time. You say, this guy's crazy talking about Frank. But Nicky Barnes, I wouldn't say the same thing.
Right, and he's nothing like the movie. The movie had him portrayed as a caricature. Cuba Gooding Jr., the American Gangster movie, played Nicky Barnes. That's nothing like, the real life.
Well, Cuba Gooding Jr. is a character all himself anyway, but
Frank's a stupid guy. I mean, a real stupid guy. You can tell him I said so.
I disagree. Like I said, he does a lot of stupid things and says a lot of stupid things, but he's pretty cunning. I mean, look at this guy. He was on welfare in 2000. Barely surviving. I don't know if he can still read or not. He ends up becoming a Hollywood icon. A decade later, where everybody knows his name. I just got back from Indonesia, as you know, Ron. I was there for 11 months, and everybody knew, American Gangster. I was just amazed, how far Frank Lucas has gone with so little.
Yeah.
I mean, that's only in America, right? With Don King say.
Only in America, like Don King would say, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Like Don King would say, only in America, right?
Yeah.
All right, y'all. I tell you, like to me, if your mentor is Bumpy Johnson, I know he spent time in prison. Was like a Renaissance man. He wrote poetry. He was well read,
right.
Articulate. Like you, brother Ike. You articulate. You're a Renaissance man. You know how to, do a lot of different things very well. I look at Nicky Barnes. Philosophy and stuff like that. And this is Frank Lucas get all the glory, huh?
Yeah. Well, I just want to say this. I went into the drug business in about 1968, and I think that's when Bumpy died. But his wife, Mame, has written a personal letter to me, and she's autographed her book for me and everything like that, and she wanted me to know that she didn't believe anything Frank Lucas had to say. And I was just showing some friends of mine her book was at my house, that was at my apartment rather, that she had wrote me this letter and everything. And then my son called me from Maryland, and we was talking, and I asked him, did anybody call about Mame had died or anything like that? And he said, yeah. He said, somebody called. He said, I think it was Wade in New York. And I said, well, what did he say? He said, Mame has passed away, and I guess it was somebody that she had told to make sure you tell. Like, we look forward to meeting each other, but we don't go to New York until next month.
Right, we're going to go mid-July, do a book signing at Black Star video in.
Right, I'm very sorry about that. Yeah. She seemed to be a very nice person, the kind of person that I like, and I wish God bless her, and I hope hope to see her in the afterlife.
No time soon, right, brother? No time soon, right?
Right. Well, excuse me, Ron.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me add a couple things here. If some of your listeners want to dialogue with Ike, Ike's got a Facebook page.
All right. Please promote.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He's pretty good at that. So he's pretty good answering. So you could try that. And we got our website too, www.Ike Atkinson, ATKINSON, Kingpin.com. www.IkeAtkinsonKingpin.com. And we just got the copies in today, the print copies. And we're excited because the book looks great, and we're selling books directly from our website. And every book that we sell from there will be autographed by Ike and myself on that. And if you want to buy it, you could also get it from your bookstores and from Amazon, but you'll be guaranteed a signed copy. And we'll be on tour doing book signings, and they can go to the website to keep up with the event calendar.
Let's go. We got one caller. He's been waiting patiently. Want to ask you a question, Brother Ike and Brother Ron. Is Brother Matthew, are you there, Young Black?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, man, it's an honor to have you on. This is Brother Young Black. He's a rapper extraordinaire, a scholar activist. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing fine. And yourself?
I'm fine. I can't complain. And, you've been listening patiently to the conversation. You got Brother Ike Atkinson, Sergeant Smack, the real OG, the man who masterminded the Southeast Asian connection in terms of the heroin, who was the success, who actually Frank Lucas took as his own. And we got Brother Ron Chepesiuk, one of the best true crime authors on the scene today, and an investigative journalist on the air with us. And you got the action.
How do you do?
Yeah, first thing I got to ask is, I've been listening and I've heard about how a lot of things that Frank Lucas said weren't true. About how much percentage of that would you say is true?
Well, I think the percentage that's not true is probably a lot easier than what is true. It's almost I'd say about 90% of the stuff that Lucas has said about the relationship with Ike Atkinson is false. And let me tell you something. I'll tell you what happened when that article came out. Famous article by Mark Jacobson that came out in New York Magazine in 2000. Frank Lucas was an obscure, ex-gangster, living on welfare, and he met this kind of naive, excellent writer. Mark Jacobs was an excellent writer, as far as me as a journalist, but he really didn't do any investigative reporting. And so Frank Lucas told him the story, and if you read that article, it gets wilder and wilder as it goes along. I mean, this idea that they would put drugs on Henry Kissinger's plane is totally absurd. I checked that out in my book. And also that he would go into the Golden Triangle, having no military contact and no connections in Asia, and go directly to the source because his, quote, cousin, and he's not his cousin, Ike's not his cousin, would give him up the source. What drug trafficker would give up the source, of this heroin? It's totally absurd. And the problem was, 3 months after that article was written, nobody would remember that article, but these suits in Hollywood saw this article and said, what a great story, we'll turn it into a movie. And then Lucas was stuck with that. He couldn't retract that because that's what got him to Hollywood. And so that's what I always call him, a version of Walt Disney's Pinocchio. The more he talks about the story, the longer the tale gets.
Yes, and I heard Ike earlier, how he said that, they have a little bit of bad blood now because of that. But me being in the entertainment business, I know a lot of things that are put out these days are meant to entertain. So that being said, you all don't see that as a form of entertaining other people, even though a lot of it is a lie. I mean, predominantly most of the stuff that's out nowadays is a lie, like people giving up their lives for selling drugs and making millions of dollars to sell drugs to do rap music, and they don't even make nothing but a couple $100,000 after the labels get it, stuff like that. So seeing it how,
but remember,
the entertainment...
It's a true story. It's supposed to be based on a true story. So some of it's got to be true. Some of it's got to be true. It's entertainment, yes. But, I mean, if you're going to claim that it's based on a true story, because every story is, is fictionalized to make it entertaining, like you said. But, I mean, the story that is presented by American Gangster is preposterous. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous, as Ike would say.
Yeah.
You want to add something, Ike?
No, I just want to give word to what you're saying. It don't make a whole lot of sense. He picked the wrong thing, man, about dead servicemen, people that I've served with in the service and everything like that. And, like I say, we might never get together or never speak again to each other again because of that lie that he told. But that would be something that he would just have to retract.
Right.
And all this thing about Thailand and everything, the 4 days that he went there, he went because he wanted to go, and he asked me to help him go, and that's what I did.
Right.
And
Ike has publicly challenged Lucas to a public conversation about the respective stories, but we haven't heard a peep from him. Right.
Yes, I got a question for Ike because I wanted to know something from that Ike can tell me. The question that I have is that after he put that article out, Ike, how did that personally affect you within your daily lives and the connections that you've already had?
Tell him about the letter you wrote to the New York Magazine. You wrote a letter to the New York Magazine.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this happen. I'm in the joint. In jail. I'm calling it joint. I'm in the jail, and somebody comes to me and shows me an article in the New Yorker. And what it was about this reporter was writing about
Mark Jacobson.
Mark Jacobson was his name and everything like that. And so it was once I saw he was talking about making an interview of a big drug dealer and everything. It was good news to me. I enjoy reading about things like that. And I started reading the thing, and oh my God, the next note, the man done injected Frank Lucas is my life, and he just went to telling all the things he did in Thailand and where he put the drugs, how he got them back to the States. He threw them on, put the drugs on Kissinger's plate. There's a whole lot of great. This is the guy that I took to Thailand in 1970. I'm positive.
74.
And and he was just determined. He wanted to be somebody else, and he wanted to be somebody big. He can't do that. I appointed Thornton to be in charge of when I when Ike failed and got ready to go to jail, when I went back to Thailand to close out my business, I put Thornton in there. That's what the record shows in the DA, and that's what happened. Not Frank Lucas. Nobody got nothing in the book about Frank Lucas, because after the 4 days that he stayed there and everything, and incidentally, he stayed in a hotel that when he came to Thailand, it hadn't even opened yet. So he did that, knocked that to hell. But I think we might have the time mixed up on this thing. Right. But this man tells so many stories, man. Yeah. Like, geez.
And if you read the autobiography that he just came out with, it's even a new version. Ike's not even in the book. Yeah. And now he's working with some Oklahoma African American servicemen instead of Ike with the Cadaver Connection. Yeah. He talks about Jack's American Star Bar. He calls it Richie's Place. Richie's Place. And he doesn't mention names. He uses this character 007, which sounds, I always said Lucas could have been a fiction writer if he knew how to write, because his imagination is really fertile. And that was Ike's partner, Luchai Rubiwat. Yeah. And as Ike has always told me, he brought Lucas to Jack's American Star Bar, and he got a lot of his information by just listening to the GIs that were there, listening to Ike and listening to some of the other people, and these stories, kept with him. And then when he hooked up with Jacobson, he had a great story to tell, but it wasn't true.
Right, and this is real crazy. At that time, about 1968 or 1969, in Thailand, Jackson, my co-defendant, had already, with Luchai, who became our partner later on in our restaurant and nightclub, they had a nightclub. And every black guy that ever been to Thailand back in those days, back in the latter part of the 60s and the 70s, know that the club was called La Fez. And it was a honky-tonk junk, but everything would go on in there, man. Everybody, and Frank claimed that he came to Thailand at that time, but he couldn't. And what did he say, Ron?
He claims that he was there in 68, 69. Yeah. And I interviewed DEA agents that investigated Ike that were in Bangkok, and they all said they had a reams of files on Ike going back to Germany. He was in Germany, and nothing on Lucas. He wasn't even on the radar screen. And if he was supposed to be such a big drug trafficker, as he said, they would have had something going on him. And none of the agents I talked about ever recalled. This is going into the early 70s, 1973, and the DEA records that I got access to had Lucas coming to Thailand in 1974, which is exactly what Ike said, and some of his people even confirmed that. So, and Lucas is very smart. If you read his autobiography, he never mentions dates and he never mentions names, so you can't check out the names. And if you read our book, everything's up front. We got names, dates, and everything's documented. So, it's amazing that he's been able to get away with this.
Yeah. Sure.
So I was about to say, watching his movie, is he really killing people in broad daylight as if he would say he would?
Well, the story about Tango, you're talking about Tango.
Right.
No. If you read there's a discrepancy with that story between the article in 2000 and the actual movie. But we'll forgive that. That's literary. That's creative license. On that. But the story itself about Tango, and that made him a real legend. Where he took on this big bully and shot him dead, and he said he could have left money on the street and nobody would have touched it. I haven't been able to confirm anybody that.
Right.
Of course, a lot of people are dead, but even the ones that I talked to, some of the real old time cops, don't have any recollection of that happening. In fact, they don't even have any recollection of him being around Bumpy Johnson. Like Mame Johnson pointed out, in her book.
Yeah.
And he made himself. He's gone a long way on nothing. He's really distorted two big gangster reputations, Bumpy Johnson and Ike Atkinson, and he's able to get away with it because the press has been lazy. They really haven't checked anything out.
Yeah.
I think, I just want to say that's definitely important. That's why we should know about the truth, because the fact, to me, is better than the fiction. The fact that a brother could build a major multinational corporation, like you said, Brother Ron, and not even use any threat of violence, never carried a gun on his person, although he was a trained killing machine. He could kill people, but he never resorted to violence and used sophistication in his mind to achieve something that was very exceptional. Should be known by people, because I think it's very important that there's more than one way to get anything done, or like they said, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And also, I mean, just to correct the historical record, because the problem with the reason why Frank Lucas had gotten away with the Bumpy Johnson thing, Maine died last year, but so many people have passed on, and thank God that. So,
but he didn't count on Maine Johnson being alive at 94. Not everybody from that era.
Brother Ike, yeah. And you, Brother Ron, for doing the work that a lot of people are too lazy to do. And this is the problem with the media anyway. The media has always been at the service of the corporations. Like, you beat Halliburton at the table, but they beat you in corporate America. They get you back, to the real American gangsters to me.
Ron, you remember the chapter on Frank Lucas that I wrote.
Right.
And I talk about how I was invited to be on Dateline, NBC, when Frank Lucas, the movie, they were pimping the movie with Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe and all that, and they're going to get on Dateline. They're going to do a real nice story, so they invited me on.
Right.
And I said, well, you got to talk to some other guys. So I got 3 or 4 other D agents and all that, and we all contradicted Frank Lucas's story, and so they couldn't use us. And so I got a call saying, "Wow, we're going to do a real in-depth story about Frank Lucas down the road." And so what they went with, the day before the movie was released, was what's his name, Matt, the Lauer, and Russell Crowe and Denzel Washington, and these were the experts, that were going to talk about Frank Lucas. So and the reason for that was that NBC and Universal had a connection. You know what I mean? And it was bad for the business of making money from the movie if there was a lot of negative comment about Lucas's story. So and
that's what it's all about.
Right, and I got that in the book, and I talk about that, and especially the cadaver connection, which is the biggest hoax in the history of the international drug trade, and unfortunately Ike got dragged into it because of Lucas's lies. But now, hopefully people will read the book and they'll see the real story.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now these days, with things going as bad as they are, can y'all honestly say that y'all feel like it was a good thing to actually put out stories that somewhat glorify being a gangster and being a drug dealer?
No, we're not glorifying. We're telling a story, and Ike has a lot of regrets from that period. We talked about this, and if he had to do it all over again, he wouldn't do it. Like Ike would not be. I wouldn't have written the book, and Ike wouldn't have collaborated with me if Lucas hadn't lied about his story. But nobody that with Ike's military service wants to be known as a guy that used coffins of dead service. Now Lucas is ignorant, and he had no military service. He had nothing to do with the military, so it doesn't bother him, but it does bother Ike, and that's why Ike is very angry about the story. So it has nothing to do with glorifying. It's a great story because of Ike's personality and the characters involved, but it has nothing to do with glorifying the drug trade.
No, sure don't.
Okay, because and I'm not so much as speaking on Ike's case, because like I said, I haven't had the chance to read the book, but I feel like that's one of the things that really bothered me, because back in my day, I'm not saying I was nowhere near Ike or selling big time drugs, but I did what I did to get by for my family only because I had to do what I had to do when I was young minded. But now that I've grown up and I have my daughter and I have my son and I see the path that I want them to go, I look at, movies like, a movie that slipped my mind, American Gangster. And I look at it and I'm like, even though they're trying to make money, it seems like they're trying to glorify what was done, like it was a good thing to sell drugs. It's kind of glorifying being a gangster, which is not the message that I felt like should have been sent out to our kids. Now, I'm not saying this is what Ike is doing at all. I'm just saying that was my personal opinions about watching.
Well, there's always that danger. If you want to tell a story, it could always be interpreted that way. But, I'm a journalist, and, I try to tell the truth as best I can in print. And, all I was concerned about was getting the true story out. But you see in the book that crime doesn't pay. I mean, I spent 32 years in prison. 32 consecutive years in prison. Now, anybody that says, I really missed the drug trade after 30, they'll have to be crazy. And Ike's the first person to say that, that was the biggest mistake of his life because he didn't have to do it. You said you had to do it to feed your family and all that. Ike didn't need that. He had money, on that. But he was an adrenaline junkie. That's why the story is so different. But there's a cautionary tale there. Right. It's a great story, but you see how it happened to Ike Atkinson. He went to jail in his 50s, never got out to his 80s. Yeah.
Why is it that he got out so late and
Frank
Lucas did?
Well, I was going to talk about that. You talk about, you remember John Gotti, right? They called him the Teflon Don.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, well, Lucas was the Teflon gangster. One of the things that really amazes me is that Nicky Barnes, he was another big snitch. And, contrary to the movie, Lucas didn't turn any DEA agents in. All he turned in was fellow gangsters. And same as Barnes. And Barnes admits that, on that. But Barnes today is still in hiding,
Right.
And, Lucas was implicated in several murders. He turned in over 80, because I talked to DEA agents that handled him, over 80 gangsters from the street. And he can walk around. Well, he's in a wheelchair now, but he can move around New York City without any, protection. And that always amazes me. And the fact that he was able to do what he did and spend about 9 years, not many people know that he was convicted again in 1984. The DEA caught him selling drugs. Well, he wasn't in the Federal Witness Protection Program. He got out, but he was selling drugs again, and he claimed that he was trying to work for the DEA, undercover, and except that he didn't tell anybody in the DEA about it. and he went to prison again, and he only spent about 9 years. And if you read his autobiography, that is this crap that he put out, he doesn't even talk about that. He just sort of goes from when he gets out of prison in 1981 to making the movie, and all that other part. He doesn't talk about the snitching, anything like that. So it's really amazing to me that this guy has gotten so far and so little, in his life.
Yep. Yeah. And he will say anything. And he's a loudmouth and everything like that. He thinks the louder that he hollers at something or somebody, that it's going to happen. And he really, don't get me wrong, he was okay with the money. Several times I had to chase him down, see his brother and everything like that. He just wouldn't mind. I'm not against Frank, but what he did, the lie he told about those dead servicemen, he didn't put me in it, but he said something. He made some reference to a guy that he called. He didn't want to get Ike in it. What was the guy name?
Excuse me, Ike. Who was that?
The guy that he took the picture with, and they were supposed to be out there with the Duncan.
Oh, Lloyd Price, right? They're making the movie in the 70s.
No, I'm talking about in Thailand. What do you call me? The guy.
Oh, you're talking about Nate. Nate.
Yes.
He was Nate in the American Gangster movie.
Robert Governor Smith.
Right.
Nate.
And he's supposed to be his cousin that set him up with the general, the Thai general in the Golden Triangle.
Yeah. So he is a guy that wouldn't know one country in the Iron Triangle or nothing, but I see they put it in his book. So maybe he might have some idea about where it is, but I doubt if he could even explain it. But like I say, Nicky, he had to do a complete turnaround on all the lies that he told. We won't never be friends, I don't think. But Maybe so. You never can tell what happened. But one thing we can rest assured that if we do, there certainly won't be no hanky-panky.
I heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, seeing as how he was able to use his book and his article to make him millions in the box office, I mean, you haven't thought about doing the same thing, just using your version of the story to go make your movie and make.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't cut you off there. I was just
saying, it's okay. I just want to know, did you all want to do the same idea to make your own, millions, to make your money off the real story? I mean, if you're going to get it out there with a book, why not, try to shop it to some producers that might want to record or direct it?
We haven't had to shop it yet. We've already got about 4 different feelers. And, in fact, tonight we were talking with somebody that was interested. Was interested in doing something, an HBO-type series or something like that. And so we're right now we're just in the preliminary stage. We're trying to get this book, out and try to get some sales to justify the hard work I spent in 2 years. I spent 2 years of my life on this, and I spent a lot of this time. And we're proud of the book, so we're working on that. But yeah, if it comes, it comes. But we think we've got the true story out, and it stands as a historical record now. And
what's the Facebook page so I could kind of bookmark this? I got a lot of people who follow me.
All you have to do is put in Ike Atkinson in the thing, and it'll pop up. You'll see his Facebook. He's got about right now. He's got about 1,200 friends, but that's without even the print book coming out. So it'll probably jump up. But he's on there, and I help him out with it, and he answers, most everybody that asks him a question.
Yeah, I was going to say, I appreciate that as well. I think it also is important. I mean, this book is something going to stand the test of time, and I think truth will always win out in the end. The truth, no matter how long it may take,
right,
the truth will always come to the light, and that's how it goes. And also, like the story to me, like what you, Brother Ike, your story is way more fascinating than, the story that we got, cheated with.
Right.
Because, you tell of a guy who, you're a complex character, you're a patriot, and also, you're a pusher man. You're a gambler. You just can't be put in one box. You can't be confined. People can't say you all bad. If people can't say you all good, you're very human. Your story is very human to me. Like Brother Young Black said, he had to make a choice when he was younger back in the day, and I feel like you've grown a lot as well, too. But you had to live this life in order to tell this tale, and to me, in a lot of ways, we all are pawns because, like I said, the biggest American gangsters was the one you cheated at the gambling table, Halliburton. They the biggest gangsters to me because, it was the General Smedley Butler. General Smedley Butler was the most decorated Marine in U.S. history. And he said that war is a racket. He found out the true meaning of war. He said, we're nothing but mercenaries sent to do corporate America's bidding.
Right.
We're not about, liberation. We're about fighting for corporate interests.
Right.
And to me, the CIA are the biggest drug dealers on the planet.
Oh, man.
There ain't nowhere. All due respect to Brother Ike, you did a very interesting job.
Right.
But they the biggest drug dealers on the planet. So you should have to feel sorry for about anything.
Right. And if you read The Politics of Heroin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alfred McCoy, and you read Gary Webb's book, interview. Have you interviewed Ricky Ross?
No, I'm working on that. I know. This is so important to get these sides of the story. I know people don't want to talk about this, but this is why we got all these. When we think about cowboys, we think about John Wayne and Gary Cooper. We're not thinking about Nat Love or Bass Reeves, one of the greatest U.S. monsters in history.
Right.
I'm thinking about people like we should, and we're so much more than just rappers and basketball players.
Right.
By Ricky Ross, do you mean the actual rap artist Ricky Ross, or
Rick Ross, Freeway?
The key that was supposed to be the key for the importation of drugs into the inner city,
right,
East L.A., which set off the crack epidemic that the CIA was let's say allegedly involved. And Gary Webb wrote a good book, Dark Alliance. Right, Ron?
Neil Blendon. Yeah, he was like the Oscar, the Neil Blendon. But he wrote it for the Sacramento Bee. It was like a expose.
Originally, he wrote the series of articles, and actually it was the press that did him in. His fellow
right, Washington Post, New York Times, right. The same press that glorifies the American gangster are the same ones that did in a terrific journalist.
That's right.
With a lot of integrity and Gary Webb. And you can go online and read the whole thing, thank God for the internet. But I'd like to thank y'all once again for being on this show. I mean, it's always an honor, Brother Ron, to have you on. And Brother Ike, I was truly blessed. I mean, I think you missed your calling, man. You supposed to be like a mega church minister or something. But you're too honest. I don't know. I think you're too honest for that. But but you got.
I'll tell you, Ike just stepped out to the bathroom. This has been a marathon session.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Ike's 84 years old, and he's an amazing trooper. And if you see him in person, he's amazing. He doesn't look 84, but he just went to the bathroom. So I'm here, and I could sign off for Ike.
Oh, definitely.
Being his biographer. So, but I know he enjoyed being on this show, and we'll do it again. We're coming out with a DVD in September, which we've done called Ike in His Own Words, which essentially is an interview, in documentary form. And so, if you want us back on the show, we come back again, and then we come back periodically to track our progress, what's happening. Hopefully with any kind of film treatment or whatever.
I definitely. It'd be an honor to have you on. You always welcome, Brother Ron. I really appreciate you.
Well, it's one of my favorite shows. You're always prepared. You always read the book, and you're always prepared.
Great stuff. You're a brilliant writer, man. I really enjoy your work, but you just got a talent, and I'm glad you're doing this. It's not a question of if, it's only a matter of when.
Well, thank you so much. Here comes Ike back. He looks a little weary, but he's gonna. They're signing off, Ike. We're at my house here, and all week, and we're doing interviews and talking about the book and planning strategies. So we've been pretty busy. But he's going to get on the phone right now. Pick up the phone, Ike, and say goodbye. Okay. Here you go.
Okay. Well, I hope we didn't take up too much of your time.
Oh, no, it was an honor. I'm glad that you are. So, like Brother Ron said, you're such a trooper, and I really enjoyed you. Like I was telling him that I thought you missed your calling. You should have been a minister. Saved so many people. You just don't know it. You think you heard a lot of people. You saved so many people. Yeah. The trouble with your life. It was a testimony. It's a beautiful life, and I'm glad. And it was truly an honor that you blessed our audience here today, sir, or tonight, rather. And I look forward to hearing more great things coming from you in your account.
Well, it's a pleasure, and you just call Ron anytime, and we'd be very glad to furnish whatever information we have.
Yes, sir, it's an honor. And in the words of the great Duke Ellington, I know you're a boxing fan because I know Brother Ron did a great job. You got a chance to meet Sugar Ray Robinson. I guess one good thing that Frank Lucas allowed you to do was be able to have some time with Joe Louis.
Right. Well, that we talked about how much of the story is true. Actually, Lucas did have a good relationship with Joe Louis. And,
right.
I acknowledges that, but that's one of the few things that that are true about their relationship and about Lucas's story.
Right. I have a relationship with Joe Louis too because I met him in what year this is?
1943.
1943.
Mm.
But when Lucas introduced me to Joe, he also introduced me to Martha,
his wife.
His wife.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we were at a hotel in New York, and Frank was being tried on a case out of New Jersey,
mm-hmm.
and Jeffrey Hoffman represented him, and the plan for Martha and I was for Martha to go down and sit on the front seat of the courthouse, but then said take Ike with you. So I went with her to the courthouse and watched this guy defend Frank.
Mm-hmm.
This big drug case wasn't all that big. They just find him with a few ounces or something. And after about 30 minutes that we was in, Joe Louis came in and he sat beside Martha and I. And you could see the jury who was saying, that's Joe Louis, They were saying to each other. And I thought that was rather neat. Yeah, and he got found not guilty, too. The grand jury, that was a case he caught, and it wasn't no publicity or anything about it, but it was a case that he had caught, and the feds, they were going to stick it to him if they caught him. This was before all this cooperation started and everything like that, before he ever started snitching off on people. This was the time that he was other than me, my nephew telling me that he was supposed to be a big man in New York. I didn't know that much about him anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly enjoyed my conversation with you tonight. And Ron, I was behind whatever Ron says, that you can call him anytime, or me for that matter. I'm going to probably end up referring you to him if you call me. I live by myself, and I have my own apartment, and so I really would prefer that you, if you got any questions, anything about it, to call Ron. I just hope that you enjoyed talking with us as we have with you, and look forward to you talking to you again some other time.
Yes, sir. It will happen. Like in the words of the great skeleton, we love you madly. And y'all take care and stay blessed. I know you.
Yeah, you all take care.
Well, thank you. Thank you also for your good questions.
Yeah.
You know, that was really good. So
yeah, if something's seen not where it's supposed to be, just give us a call. We'll try to straighten it out.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
You are two gentlemen, Gangster. I think he's very nice. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've written enough about it. I almost feel like a gangster, you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Good night.
Okay, Ron. Hey, Brother Ron. Thank you.
And good night.
Good night.
Good night.